Hello and welcome to Wild and Well. I am your host, Laural Crossley, and today we're going to be talking about some simple strategies that you can use outside with yourself, alone, with family, with friends, at social gatherings, wherever you feel compelled to use these simple strategies. And I think it's really important to start with. The concept of what is wellness, because wellness is independent for every soul on this earth. Um, and everybody defines wellness in a very different way. And for me, for example, I know I feel well when I have energy, I feel filled with joy, I'm happy, I'm excited about life, and things appear to be going along just swimmingly. So that's how I define wellness. But for other people, it may be quite simply living pain free. It might be incorporating some play into their lives because they're very busy with work. It might be, booking that vacation for 2.5 weeks so that you can actually decompress, relax, and get the benefits of vacation because so many of us and so many people I know actually have working vacations, which to me isn't really a vacation. A vacation is to re energize, regroup, spend time with family, be fully present, be aware, have fun. Those are the things that I think a vacation is important for. So I'm coming to you from Canada. And so I'll be discussing things that I use in my Canadian wild space. So I'd like to welcome you to my garden. Behind me, that's my tropical garden. So I bring all my house plants from in the house and I move them outside. I've done this every year, and the plants really flourish and thrive, which I find really interesting. How much better they do when they're outside, when they're getting the right amount of sunlight, when they're getting the right amount of rain. And so, intuitively, I'm like, so if the plants do better outside when the weather's really nice here in Canada, what about the humans? What's happening with them? So I'd love for you to come with me. We're going to do some activities, have some fun. If you have kids, invite them to participate in this because it's for everybody. And the first thing I want you to do when you're participating in this is grab some sort of writing tool, pen, pencil, maybe a notebook with lines or without lines, because some of you are artists and some of you are, you know, um, more the writing creatives. And so bring that with you because I want you to be inspired by some of the things that I'm going to share with you today. So let's get going. I'm sitting here right now in one of my favorite spaces underneath my porch or on my back porch. And I'm sitting in a rocking chair and I'm just listening to all the sounds of the neighborhood as they wake up because it's morning in Canada. And this rocking chair, it's old. It's a little tattered, but every time someone comes to my home, they sit in it. And when I watch them rocking, I'm noticing how calm and peaceful they feel. So, the next piece of this, being wild and being well, is really doing breath work. And breath work is so important. And there are the right ways to do breath work, and there's some breath work that might need some modifications. So, the first thing I want you to think about when you're doing breath work is that you can do it anywhere. You don't have to be in a rocking chair on your back porch. You can be at your desk, you could be in the car. But breath work is the first strategy they suggest if you have any worries or anxieties. Let's start with slowing our breathing down. And if we think about what we've just come through, the global pandemic, lung capacity and lung health is critical. And I know from doing just a few bits of research here and there during the pandemic that I actually discovered that therapists who are involved with post COVID patients were actually doing breath work to improve, breathing altogether. So it's really important that we are ensuring that, we are breathing the correct way. So I always talk to kids about baby belly breaths. And if you notice when you just do some breath work right now, so just simply breathe and observe, where you're breathing into. Most of us breathe into the top part of our lungs. We're not getting those beautiful deep breaths that go right through from the top part of our lungs right through to the bottom part of our lungs. So if you observe an infant and when they're sleeping, their bellies actually go up and down. And what that means is they are breathing so deeply right into the lower part of their lungs. And that's what we want to do. We want to be able to take those beautiful deep breaths in through the nose and then release out through the mouth. And we want to do it very prescriptively and very slowly. And when I mean prescriptively, I mean the technique. So let's start by just assessing where our breath is currently. So just take a nice deep breath in and release it out. Let's do a second deep breath in and release it out. The next thing we want to do is we want to put our hand on our bellies. And we want to breathe in so deeply. Can you hear the train whistle in the background? I don't know if the microphone is picking that up, but that kind of soothes me as well. It reminds me of when I was a little girl. Okay, so we're going to breathe in through the nose. And this time we're going to try and breathe so deeply when our belly rises up, we can actually see our hand move. So just observe your hand. I'm going to pay attention to the camera. Okay, so let's take a nice deep breath in now through the nose and release slowly. Did you notice the difference? Let's take another nice deep breath in through the nose and release. And just observe how you feel when you take those deep breaths. You can do this in the morning when you first wake up to start your day off right. You can do this midday, maybe at lunch hour before you start to consume food. And we will talk about mindful eating, or as I call it, mindful munching. And you can do this when you're about to grab the train home from work, or you're getting in the car to drive home, and you're anticipating a longer than usual commute or a chaotic commute. You can do some deep breaths before you board the train or get into your car. And you can do it before you go to bed at night just to relax you overall. So there's the fundamentals of doing some really quick and easy breath work. And of course, being outside, you're getting all the benefits of the fresh air. The sounds of the awakening neighborhood. The dogs are barking, the kids are giggling, the lawnmowers are mowing, and I am outside walking around my garden space in my bare feet. So this segment, is all about barefoot grounding. And there's so many benefits to walking barefoot. If you think about our ancestors did not really wear shoes because shoes hadn't been invented. So there's that. But also, um, when I think about infants. And again, I go back to my background's in child studies and child development. So we learned a lot about infant growth and all the way through to, 18, 19, 20. And one of the things they suggest, and you probably know this if you're a parent, is that you allow your children to learn to walk without any footwear. Now, why do you think that is? Well, it's because the soles of our feet are meant to be feelies. There, I've just made up a new word. And what I mean by that is it's meant to help you know where it's safe to walk and where it's unsafe to walk. And it also supports balance. So that's why it's really, really important for children, infants, to walk barefoot because it um, helps support their abilities to walk and to navigate through life because walking is really important. So, and even if you can't walk, you're limited in your mobility, even putting your feet on the ground barefoot actually has health benefits. I spend the majority of my time barefoot. I garden in my bare feet. People are like, "What? What about bugs?" I'm like, "I don't care about bugs. What about disease? Oh no, I want the microbes. I want that the benefits of having my feet solidly on the ground at all times in my bare feet. I want that feeling. I want that sensation. It's really tremendous. So let's get out of the sunlight a little bit because I'm moving around. And I'm going to stand on my angel stone and let's talk about the benefits of barefoot grounding. Now, I have my notes here because I really wanted to talk to you about this. So let's talk about the benefits and let's talk about next what we can do. What is it? What's the sensation? What are we doing? What does barefoot grounding even mean? So, barefoot grounding, in my research, reduces white blood cells. So, what that means is if it promotes the growth of red blood cells, which are the healthy cells. White blood cells are if we're ill or we have disease. When we are barefoot grounding, it increases antioxidants. It reduces inflammation, and so many of us are struggling with inflammation. It improves our sleep. It lowers our stress response. And at the top of the wild and well, I talked about pain. Some people just want to be pain free. It also supports in the management of pain. So what I would like you to do is do some more research on barefoot grounding because there's even more than my little list here. So how do we barefoot ground? And by the way, I do this all year round. I do it in the extreme cold. It doesn't last very long when I'm out there. So let's begin. So your shoes and socks are off, or your sandals are off, whatever you're wearing on your feet are off. Your bare feet are connecting to the ground. And all I want you to do is to take a deep breath, but I want you to imagine that you are drawing up all the beautiful energies from within the earth. Now, I can stand on the angel stone and do this because it's a natural substance. That's what you're looking for, are natural substances. And you can do this in your basement in the winter. If you're not as brave as me to walk outside barefoot when it's frosty out, you can do this in your basement because you can still get the benefits from, if your floors are fairly unfinished, like it's concrete, you can actually get the benefits from that as well, or the same benefits. So all I want you to do is to stand with your feet firmly planted. And I want you to imagine taking a deep breath in and inhaling all the goodies that Mother Earth is giving to us. Ready? Take a nice deep breath in now. Remembering our baby belly breathing and release. Let's take another deep breath in and release. And one for good measure. Another nice deep breath in and release. And what I would suggest that you do is you do this with, like I did it on the angel stone, and then try it on the grass because the sensation on the grass is even different, more different. So that's barefoot grounding. So try it. As they used to say, try it. You'll like it. I think that was the Mikey commercial. Well, I'm sitting here right now back to my tropical area of my garden because I want to talk to you about journaling. And as I call it, jazzy journaling. So I actually have two very different, distinct journals. So this journal is my personal journal. And then I have another one, excuse me while I go out of the camera here. I have my business journal. And I have the two very distinct journals. And I know people that have like 5 on the go, 6 on the go. I find that a little overwhelming, but I like to keep my personal stuff on one space and my business stuff in another journal. So I just separate the two because they're very different types of journaling. I find that journals are fantastic for helping me personally and professionally with creativity. So, my best thoughts are when I'm sitting very quietly, very mindfully in my garden space or inside in my office space, and I'm literally getting messages for business or personal stuff, things I need to focus in on. I find that the personal journal is really great in supporting my personal wellness. So, what am I currently struggling with? Document that. How am I going to support myself? Document that. So that if that problem ever arises again, or those feelings ever arise again, or those thoughts ever percolate through my mind again, I literally know what strategies worked in that moment. And so it's a great way of keeping records about your well being. And I feel that if you are struggling with your well being, having this type of journal is great because sometimes we need to go seek out the help of a medical professional. So you've actually documented everything that you're struggling with. Sometimes we need to seek out the help of an alternative medicine practitioner, and again, it's great to document all of that. Sometimes we need some supports with our mental health, so we can take some notes and put some feelings and document what we need to talk to or discuss with our counselor or psychologist or psychiatrist or psychotherapist or whomever is helping us with our mental health. If we're working with a coach to help with our self-esteem, because I define that as that spiritual sense of self, and wellness supports that you've got it all documented. So journaling is great. So it alleviates some stress sometimes. Journaling first thing in the morning is great if you've got ideas. Journaling before you go to sleep at night allows your brain to data dump, so it actually supports your sleep, and you're getting rid of all of those the busy brain syndrome, where we've got all those thoughts ruminating through our head before we go to sleep, which can sometimes contribute to our lack of sleep, inability to fall asleep, or we wake up in the middle of the night. So it's really great for supporting, and documenting all the things to do with our wellness. And look, if you don't like to journal, you can draw. If you don't like to journal and draw, here's the cheater's version of journaling. You grab some sticky notes and you put down one word and stuff it inside your journal. I consider that to be journaling, because there's a lot of people I know who go, oh, I don't like journaling. But when I say, look, take a sticky note and put an idea down and slap it inside either your personal or your professional journal, you're done. And they're like, oh, I can do that. So we want to make it fun. We want to make it an experience, and for you, that's positive. And so those are my thoughts around journaling. Notice the beautiful vignette behind me. Look at all these gorgeous trees. They're predominantly pine trees. Let you scan up, up, up. Notice the beautiful blue sky. It's a perfect day here in my garden. And I'd like to talk to you about forest bathing and a concept that was started in Japan. And that's where the science and the research started in and around the 1980s to the early 1990s. And they discovered some really interesting stress reduction techniques or stress reduction and the technique of forest bathing or getting outside and simply hanging with the trees. They found that people's stress levels went down when they measured them before and after they were spent time out in the forest. So, I've been hanging outside under trees since I was a little kid. And for me, it allowed and stimulated my creativity. And I'm really grateful and happy to see that there are so many forest schools for kids because where do we typically do all of our formative learning? Inside a square box, inside a building that is man made, maybe a few natural elements in it, but very little of our education is spent outside. And yet, we know, from other cultures, the importance of being outside and learning about life and all things to do with life. So I'm really glad that I'm seeing all these forest schools and nature schools popping up because it's really good for kids. So let's talk about forest bathing specifically. And again, I have my little cheat sheet here. So what does hanging out with trees actually do for us? It helps to reduce stress hormones. It can improve our mood. It can lower our heart rate and blood pressure. It can boost our immune system and it can help accelerate recovery from illness. And that's specifically hanging out with trees. Now, I do know folks who actually can communicate with trees. And I've tried this with kids. We go out into the forest and we put our ears up to the trees and we see if we get messaging. I know people, they're adults that can hear the trees communicating with one another. And I'm not that kind of person. I know I appreciate trees, but I don't hear them communicating. And the other interesting fact about trees and their ability to heal, we know that the more trees we plant, the more it detoxifies the air. And, we've got so many man made issues with our air quality. And so having as many trees as possible improves the air quality. So, what does air quality do for us? It allows us to breathe better. What have we been talking about? Breath work, mindfulness, meditation, walking meditation. So, combining a walking meditation and being in a forest next to the trees, you are getting so many benefits, natural benefits from that. So it's rather magical. But the idea with trees, I've done a little bit of reading. And again, I'm not a forest bathing expert by any way, shape, or form. There are people that I have chatted with and connected with through the Little Wellness Company that have actually, given me this information and this content. So I would encourage you to seek out a professional in this area and really get to know and understand, what this can do for us. But getting back to the trees, so, what I learned is that trees have this ability to heal one another. So, when a tree gets a disease, they have this massive root system, and all these roots are interconnected underneath the ground, things that we can't see. So, we've got the fungus supporting the trees, and the trees supporting the fungus underneath the ground. And so, when a tree is feeling unwell, the other trees will surround it with their root system in combination with the fungus, and they will actually supply it with nutrients to try and stave off whatever the tree is struggling with, that illness. And I find it so incredible that we don't know um, all of the things that Mother Nature has given us, all of the tree energy, and it's ever since I was little, I knew that trees were magical. They inspire imaginative play. We build tree houses in them. Why are tree houses better than ground houses? What is it about trees? So that's a little bit about forest bathing. So get outside in a forest, even standing or sitting underneath the trees and breathe in the beautiful clean air and the naturally producing hormones that they give off that can actually support your well being. So let's take another little walking adventure in my backyard because we're going to be talking about a walking meditation. And when I explain this to children, they start to laugh and they go, "You can't do that," because they've learned so much about meditation over the past few years. You have to have your eyes closed and you have to breathe deeply. You can't do a walking meditation. You absolutely can do a walking meditation. And, when you combine a barefoot walking meditation in a forest, which is all the things I'm talking about, magic can happen. So let's stop right here. There's my beautiful, beautiful back porch where I spend a lot of time, and the world famous rocking chair is back there. World famous. Okay, it's famous in our house. So when you're doing a walking meditation, different than a meditation, eyes are open, senses are open. Because what we want to do is we want to get seriously in tune with everything that's around us. So let's start by taking some beautiful deep breaths in before we begin our walking meditation. Nice, beautiful deep breaths in and release. Let's do another nice deep breath in and release. Let's take another nice deep breath in and release. And I want you to open your ears, open your eyes, open your heart, and see, because you're going to figure out how you feel at the end of our walking meditation. So, the first thing I want you to do in the space that you're in, I want you to just open your ears. Stop your walking, open your ears. What are the sounds that you hear in your space? I don't know if you can hear the cicadas. They're talking to each other in the trees. One of those magical sounds um, that I experience here in my garden. And when I was in Costa Rica, the cicadas are about 7,000 times louder than they are here in Canada. So they do have cicadas and they are incredibly noisy. And I was like, "What's that?" And my friend said, "Oh, those are the cicadas." So, depending on where you live, what do you hear? And then take a look around while you're standing there. Take a look around. And do you notice anything new and different in your garden space? And I've just observed something really interesting that I'm hoping if I turn my camera upside down, I'm hoping you can see, but you might not be able to. Not sure. But some of the leaves, maybe if I turn this way, are turning red. I don't know if you can. I don't think so. I think it's too dark. But some of the leaves in my red maple are turning bright red already. Kind of neat. So I noticed that that's something new. And then stop again. And what do you smell? Do you notice anything that you can smell? I noticed that someone is spraying their lawns or gardens with something that's not very well oriented, shall we say. So, a walking meditation really is about connecting with the people that you're walking with or connecting with yourself if you're alone. It's about walking and really, and if you're barefoot, if you're lucky enough to be barefoot, right now I'm walking on grass. I'm noticing what it feels like on the grass. And now I'm walking on the flagstone or the angel stone. And I'm noticing what that is feeling like on the bottoms of my feet. And I'm walking on the clover. And I'm noticing what that's feeling like. So the grass was kind of silky and cool. And the angel stone was hot. And the clover feels a little prickly. So that's what a walking meditation does. It really opens up your senses. And the last piece to a walking meditation, which is probably the most critical, is how you feel. So at the beginning of this video, I was distracted by the video. But as I walked through the garden, I started to notice that I was paying attention to my senses and what I was actually feeling, in my senses, what I was hearing, what I was smelling, what I was observing. So it's kind of interesting how a walking meditation can change your perspective and change how you feel. So enjoy these walking meditations. So we've worked up an appetite, I am sure. So I think it's time for us to have a snack. I know kids are always saying, "Is it snack time, Auntie Laurel?" That's what they call me. And I'm like, okay, it's with all this work outside, man, it makes us so hungry. So I want to talk to you a little bit about mindful munching or mindful eating. And specifically, what I'm really curious about, but I couldn't find any research on it, is how much more we get from, mindfully eating outside versus just simply mindfully eating. I haven't found anything on that. Maybe I have to do a research project. So I'll keep you posted if I need any subjects to help me out with this. So, what does eating mindfully do to support our overall well-being? So I've got my list here again. The first thing it does is it um, allows us to really understand whether we are hungry and when we are full. Because so many of us slam food into our mouth and eat it at breakneck speed, or we're eating it in the car, or we're eating it on the fly. We're not sitting down, we're not breaking bread with family, we're eating independently, we're standing up to eat. And what happens is when we are eating in that frenzied experience, we actually don't notice or pay attention to whether we're hungry and satiated, uh, or whether we're hungry or we're satiated. And so that's really, really important, because if we recognize when we're hungry, we will eat. And if we recognize when we're full or we're satiated, we will stop. And so when the more mindfully we eat, the more we might get, if we're inclined to be, gaining a little bit of weight because we're eating during times of stress and worry and anxiety. When you're eating mindfully, you'll recognize when you're full. And so you might not eat as much. So there might be some weight loss that you'll experience when you're eating mindfully. The other thing is that when you're eating and you're consuming while you're stressed out, your body naturally just lets the food fly right through you. So you're not getting the nutritional benefits from what you're eating if you're eating and you're stressed or you're slamming food into your system. So we really want to eat thoughtfully. We want to eat purposefully. We want to understand our body and its connection to food. And so when we do this and we're eating mindfully and we're surrounding ourselves outside with beautiful vignettes like the forest behind me or even my garden, and and eating your own stuff that you've grown yourself actually contributes to wellness as well. You actually will digest your food differently too. If you're eating when you're calm and peaceful and you're eating mindfully, it improves your digestion. So the food again gives you more nutrients, you might not eat as much, and it helps with your nutrition. So, what does eating mindfully look like? So, let's do a little experiment. So, I encourage you to gather up a piece of fruit or something that's close by. Okay. And I've got a little dish of cherry tomatoes, which happen to be my very number one addiction. So I'm just going to grab one and I'm just going to eat. And I did brush my teeth, so it's going to taste a little odd. But I'm just going to eat this mindlessly. Okay. Popped it in my mouth, looking around, tra la la. Swallow. Take a sip of water. Okay. So that's mindlessly. Yeah, whatever. I'm like distracted by video, distracted by my content, what I got to deliver. Okay. So the next thing I want you to do is to just close your eyes and take some nice deep breaths in. Doing our baby belly breathing. Let's do another nice deep breath in. Open your eyes. And before you put that same piece of food in your mouth, I want you just to look at it, just observe it. So I'm looking at my tomato, I'm noticing all the textures and considering, what it potentially could taste like. I've already eaten that other piece, I'm just observing all the, the little green mark on the bottom where it got plucked from the stem. I'm noticing the pulp and the seeds and the skin, noticing the color. Maybe I'll smell it. There is a scent to it that when I ate it mindlessly, I didn't notice. So now my palate's going, okay, so we're just going to open up our palate. Okay, put that piece of food in your mouth and chew it slowly. What do you observe in the taste? I noticed that I'm not enjoying this tomato. It tastes a little sour to me. I'm noticing the skin is still in my mouth and I'm like, ew. But the first bit, I didn't have the skin in my mouth. It actually my mouth has separated out the pulp from the skin. So the skin is still in my mouth. And I noticed it tasted sour. The first piece that I ate, I didn't notice anything. So strange. So the other thing that you can do, and we won't do this in this video, but you can do it as your own work, is that you can take a piece of food. So you've done the first one where you just ate it mindlessly, then you ate it mindfully. And then what I want you to do is to see if you can change the flavor of the food by sending loving vibrations and deliciousness to that piece of food. So try that little experiment. Kids love this. And I've actually heard from children that we did this with grapes. And when they sent love to their food, they told me that their grapes tasted sweeter. So try that little experiment at home. But that's a little bit about mindful munching and how it can contribute to your wellness. Well, we've had a great time together. We've learned a lot. So I'd like to finish off by just recapping what we learned and adding in a couple of extra little thoughts. So my first extra little thought is that another benefit of getting outside is vitamin D. Many of us are vitamin D deficient. So getting outside in the sunlight is very important. It's an integral part of our healing. Vitamin D supports our immune system. It helps in the recovery from illness. There are so many benefits to getting your vitamin D. So getting outside. And the rule of thumb is to really consider not being out in the sunlight during the most intense time between 11 and 1. But other than that, get out and, without a hat, get out and get your vitamin D. So important. And, I am just an advocate for all things natural and nature based. And so, as you look at my garden and you see, everything is green and fresh, it just really helps me to be reminded to be connected to nature, to be wild and to be well. And so we talked about, mindfulness and meditation. We talked about, a walking meditation. We talked about forest bathing. We talked about all the things that you can do to be outside to support and the benefits. And basically, the benefits are the more outdoors we are barefoot, spending time with family, really enjoying each other's company. Because in Canada, our gardens don't look like this all year long. Our gardens actually shift and change. But I'm an advocate for getting outside no matter what the weather. There's always clothing that you can put on, to experience all aspects: spring, winter, summer, fall, here in Canada and wherever you live, but really enjoy each other's company, get outside, and please promise me that you'll continue to stay wild, being outside, and well. And being well on your terms: wellness, mind, mental health, body, physical health, spirit, which I define as self esteem and self worth. All of those three aspects are getting supported when you're being wild and well.